And if you look at Michal Ludwig's book, very good book, by the way, I recommend it, The Orb Project. And the same thing happened to me. I was taking pictures of orbs with my cameras while I'm really trying to focus on archaeology, but all these orbs were coming up because of the higher than average electromagnetic frequencies. I had an older camera, not like the cameras we have on our cell phones, where they try to get rid of the sundogs and the orbs. This camera didn't have that. For 2 years, I'm wondering what these things are. I'm feeling the energetic fingerprint of them. I know that they're conscious. The more I become aware of them, the more they become aware of me. They're everywhere. It took me 2 years, and I still see them with my eyes. Of course, I usually send them to the foot of the cross to make sure they're not something diabolical, but the ones that stay are holy, perhaps. Or maybe they're just a part of the invisible realm's ecosystem. So we know in the invisible realm is invisible nature. Within what I studied, I learned that within that ecosystem of invisible nature, there are things with consciousnesses as low as a moth, all the way up to a Bigfoot consciousness or a whatever, all the way up to angels and fallen angels and so forth. So you have in-between consciousnesses, maybe little hummingbirds like the orbs. A hummingbird in ordinary reality will come up to your face. They're very curious, they're very busy, and then they flit away. That seems to be how orbs are as well. That level of consciousness. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't divine. I don't talk to things. I never was interested in divining for people. It's not something it wasn't my thing. But
what do you mean by divining? When you say divining, what do you mean you didn't do it? What do you mean by that?
When you're divining, you're merging with an entity. Something is coming through you. You are requisite with it. It's an invocation. And then you're divining through the agency of that entity. Mediumship. You're merged with something and you're speaking, allowing your voice to be used for another entity. That's just a simple, bare bones definition of it. But I really don't have the answer for people. All I can do is say that in the anthology and mythology that I was taught, that I have always been aware of, the entities out there can either be good or evil, full stop, including us.
Right. You talked about your first encounter era and it having red
My
hair.
only encounter.
Well, we'll get into that because I think there might be more than you're mentioning here. But the red hair, going back through Scripture, now that you're Roman Catholic, is there anything that talks about, even through as being an occultist and a shaman, what is it about the red hair? Is there a special quality to?
Oh yeah. There's
Where did that come from?
bloodline. There's Nephilim bloodlines. There are lineages, and many people today probably have Nephilim bloodlines. I'm just guessing. I'm just using logic and reason, to try and say this. But there are many discussions of bloodlines, including my own. So, blonde, red hair, blue, green eyes, Black Sea, 10,000 years ago. Nobody knows where blue and green eyes came from. And all of these giants, which are Nephilim mythological creatures, they're all red hair and they're all hairy, big, giant things. That is the mythology or the anthology, however you want to look at it, of the Nephilim. They were cannibals. They were psychopathic. That doesn't always mean that's how they are. Just look at a human psychopath. The degrees are incredible. They go from one extreme to the other.
Mhm. Okay, I want to, now that we're in this ballpark of talking about redheaded giants here, we recently lost a researcher, Sonia Zohar. And a week before...
I put a prayer up on my video for her. I was so sorry to hear that. What a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
So sorry. That
She,
was
she
horrible.
was, and she was working on researching this subject to the very end. But a week before she died, she showed me some of her research here. So I was struck. She said, I'm working on something called the Harry Mary phenomena. And I said, well, I have no idea what that is, Sonia. She goes, well, let me show you. And so I want to bring up a couple images here and get your response about this, because according to Sonia's research, this is 14th century artwork from France that shows what appears to be an angelic being of some kind covered in red hair. Not only is it paintings, but there's statues of what she was claiming might be Mary, as in the Virgin Mary. Have you ever heard of these paintings? I've never seen these before. They're striking, and they show a larger-than-life female figure covered in hair. This one's very telling here. Where is this mentioned, and what's your response with this?
I don't know. That might be referring to Eve.
Okay.
I don't know. You know, skins of light, and then, you know, at the fall, when Adam and Eve took of the fruit of the tree of good and evil,
Right.
everything fell in vibration, and they were given skins, the first animal skins, to wear by God. I'm assuming that's what it is, because she was our first mother, Eve.
Right.
So I see the crown. I can only assume that, unless there is some other mythology I'm not aware. I'm only Catholic or Christian for 5
Right.
years. I'm very young in it. And
Well,
so
could this be Lilith?
For 30 years, thousands of individuals have turned to Jan Dill's Attorneys at Law. When you're injured, the bills are piling up and you're overwhelmed.
I don't think it would be in the Catholic Church if it was Lilith. Nobody
Okay.
would venerate that at all.
Okay.
But there might be something to do with Eve, and Mary herself is now called the new Eve. Not now, but is a typology in Scripture as the new Eve.
Right.
And that's hotly debated between regular Christian denominations and Catholic faith. But I would have to ask someone like my priest or somebody,
Yeah.
a biblical scholar that would know. I don't know. I've never seen it.
So what else was striking about this too, and this kind of brings me back to some of your work that you've done, Ira, is the fact that it's down in a parabolic dish-shaped structure or environment or geology. And this is something that seems to come up time and time again, is this river drainage area or parabolic dish shape as being a power spot. Is that something that you found too in your research, looking at power spots, is that they have a geomass shape?
The parabolic shaped hills are the conical shaped hills where the telluric currents run up them. So at the top, all the mythology of indigenous people, wisdom sits in high places. You look at Christian with God on top of a mountain, Eden. God was up on a mountain. The fallen came down on Mount Hermon. The ark landed on a mountain, etc., etc. They're parabolic shaped hills. That is a pyramid shape with the 33-degree sides. That's what that is. As for being in a ditch or in a hole, no, I have no. I had no. That was not something I observed, experienced, or was taught.
Well, I got it mixed up. It's Dr. Travis Taylor that was talking about where meteors had landed. There seemed to be more. You remember this conversation, Jill?
Yes,
And how there's parabolic dish shapes that are seemingly conductors for power spots.
That's because of the minerals. The meteorites. That's because of the metals that